Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Nabi back again. All right, 68% of black slave owners were black women. All right, this is a historical fact. But why was this brought about? And we have to look at the purpose that black women served during slavery. At no point were the purpose of black women to be the union to Afro men when we talk about chattel slavery. Now, the Candace Owen types and all the rest of that stuff want to get up and do revisionist history and stuff and try to compare what happened to everyone else in the world to chattel slavery in the United States. And nothing was as sinister and as heinous as chattel slavery when you look at the fact that this was mental and spiritual destruction of a people to the point where the people that enslaved our ancestors considered us no more than animals. As a matter of fact, in many cases, they considered animals to be more cherished and higher than Afro people because, they didn't look at us as human. They psychologically conditioned themselves as Caucasians not to look at Afro people as human. And that still is a thing to this day. Understand, white didn't exist, but it existed so that they can condition themselves to look at others as less than human. All right. Now, in this, they also wanted another type of hierarchy, and that was that the BW was brought here to be of service in all manner of ways to the Caucasian man. And you got to understand this, that 2/3 of the slaves were men. 2/3. All right. Now, keep in mind that the vast majority of people that was in bondage in chattel slavery were already here. And that's another secret that the powers that be are trying to keep you from. Now, why is this important to know? It is important to know because you see Captain Kangaroo Pimp from the Chappelle Show. All right. I want you to look at who's in his lap. I don't know if Chappelle Show did that on purpose or by accident, but this was the state of the BW in the U.S. This was her mission, was to be the servant of Captain Kangaroo Pimp. All right. The other thing that they did is through the Democrat Party, the intent was always to have her usurp the man within his family. Why? If they could kick the Afro man out of the family, they no longer raise sons to think critically and fight against the system. Now, as we move on, I want y'all to pay attention to this. First, let me remind y'all my PayPal me and Cash App is in the description box. I forgot to do that the last time. And remember, you take care of yourself and family first before you donate to anybody. But your help is always welcome to what this channel does and what we physically do out in the community, knowing that all that you donate goes towards that purpose, the edification of Afro children in particular and first, but children no matter what in general, and the edification of Afro men specifically, and those that honor Afro men. That means we don't include the bad BAW, the Pookies and Ray Rays and the rest of that. All right. So now as we move on, I want y'all to understand this. Here's another thing that's happened, right? That's the image of the Afro women that you've seen disappear. Um, critical research that was done. I want y'all to understand this. critical research that was done that we were talking about in 2013, 12, 11, 2015, 16, and 17 is being scrubbed from Google. All right. If you look up this TIZE, it's being scrubbed from Google so that they can rewrite history. And basically, if you don't know how to look, most of the stuff that show up in the first 5 pages of Google is going to be BS unless you can really look into it and see that it is real research. But now you got black people in the education system trying to rewrite history. There are things that they don't want you to know, like the majority of urban black slave owners were women. Okay. In 1820, free black women represented 68% of the heads of households and 70% of slaveholding heads of colored household. So 70% of the black slaveholders were black women. Okay. The large percentage of black women slave owner is explained by the combined effects of manumissions. I'll tell you what that means in a minute. Being okay, well here they told you being freed by white masters for whom they fathered children, inheritance, so they inherited from the white masters, and receiving slaves from their white masters' relatives, and even husbands who had a higher mortality rate than women. And personal industry, understand this, once they were free, buying slaves themselves. Black women were the majority of hold on, let me say that again. Black women were the majority of slaves emancipated by white slave owning men with whom they had sexual relations. The misogynist nature of South Carolina society is nowhere better revealed than by the fact that 33% of all the recorded colonial manumissions were mulatto children and 75% of all adult manumission were females. Let me repeat that so that y'all can grasp this. 33% of all recorded colonial manumissions were mulatto children, and 75% of all adult manumission were female. Via the scholarly article posted by the University of Wisconsin. Now, I'm gonna put a link in there to look at. You had 2 different purposes for black slave owners, and you had Afro men who did it, where the majority of Afro men who went and bought slaves went and bought their wives and families to freedom, but when they couldn't free them, they just bought them outright and treated them as free. Because when Afro people started, when the Afro man started buying his family and freeing them, all right, buying their freedom, the Caucasians cut that out. Every step of the way where Afro men tried to get free, the Caucasians stomped it out. Every step of the way when we tried to build our cities and we built towns and we built them successfully as family, they snuffed it out. We rebuilt it. But you know what did us in? Integration. All right? The Democrats. Now, let's talk about the 64 bill. All right? Let's talk about the 64 bill. And these are I'm paralleling this with what happened in Brazil. See, because what y'all don't know is that many of the people in the South and many of the people in Germany, after World War II, after they lost, the racist, they went to Brazil, became part of the government, and this is how mulattoes and Afro people are treated in Brazil, in many of the favelas. All right. Sometimes things are bad because of the government, and this is what happened in the 64 bill. What happened in the 64 bill is this, that the United States government made this to free up Afro men so that he could rebuild his community. And the Democrats stuck in sex in the bill so that Caucasian women could usurp this bill. All right. So this is the point. So some of the time things are bad because of the government. But some of the time things are bad because of the agents of the government. So we get back to the BAW. The ABW became an agent unto destruction of themselves, the destruction of their family, and getting position in government and places in order to further destroy the Afro men and his family. In the United States as well as Brazil, this is what happened in Brazil during the 1920s and further, when Brazil paid Europeans to come and lay with the black women to make mulatto children and then leave. All right. So, and then they brainwashed the mothers to tell their daughters, and they passed this along for generations. You should marry a white man to improve your race. That's what they were told in Brazil. All right. But the same thing was being told by black mothers as of the 60s and 70s and 80s. And now you got the divestors. All right. And they want to get angry that Afro men got enough wisdom to leave them completely alone, get passports, and go to other countries to find a woman. All right. Now, when you look at all of this and the agency, I want y'all to understand something else. When this woman is saying this continues to this day, the other thing that I want you to realize is a lot of videos and stuff you find getting shut down on Facebook and YouTube. On Facebook, my channel is under attack a lot when I try to share videos. But you want to know why that is? Because I'm targeted by black women, and I'm going to say this aloud, that work at YouTube and Facebook who monitor these videos. If you ever wonder why so many men get taken down, but Cynthia G and the rest of them can talk about divesting by unaliving children through abortion, only male children, how that gets to stand and not be as racism. Well, that happens because the same women who jump ship and divest and then get backlash from it, or things don't go well, or when brothers say, no, we're out of here, they start crying, not realizing that they are the agents that are being used, and they're willfully, knowingly allowing themselves to be used because they don't give a damn by the system. All right. It is that rank. And I want you to understand something else too. Anytime Afro men stand up to do something different, you will find that he will have adversaries. It'll be the BW and their minion simps. All right, because you're not allowed to think outside of the Democrat Party. The very people that's destroying us through policy and usurping the authority of the Afro men by telling our children they could be anything as far as gender instead of anything as far as career. and telling the women, yeah, you don't need them. The women is telling that and working as agents for these people so that the community can stay weak because there's no strong men there. And strong men should build our own community elsewhere outside of that. Y'all know what to do. With that said, I'm